You've worked with the legendary Quincy Jones.
He was like, this kid is special. And all I could think of is like, this is the dude that produced Michael Jackson.
Yeah, from being this PK to moving in the gospel world. I can imagine that you've had some hiccups and slip-ups.
I've been on both sides, from secular to sacred. One of the things I want to do is show people that you can love God and still be relatable. It's all gonna work out. You may be in the ugly phase right now. If you just give it time, it's all gonna come full circle.
Yeah.
It is well.
You sang on the Apollo.
I did.
Did my
Rock
dad?
Hills, yes.
Did my dad bring you out?
Your dad brought
Tell
me.
me about this. Welcome to Vault Empowers Talks, where we don't just scratch the surface, we dive deep into the lives of some of the world's most influential change makers, and today is no different. I'm your host, Brandi Harvey. But before I introduce my guest for today, I need you to go ahead and do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss your daily dose of inspiration and motivation. But without further ado, I get to introduce this fly man sitting next to me, y'all. Y'all ain't even ready for this one today. Rudy Currence is a Grammy and Dove Award-winning producer, songwriter, and two-time #1 Billboard recording artist. Rudy's writing and production credits include songs for Quincy Jones, Karen Clark Sheard, Lecrae, David Banner, Kirk Franklin, Maya, Ray J, Jasmine Sullivan, and the blockbuster movie The Bourne Identity. In 2021, Rudy's single, I Belong Here, exploded onto the Billboard charts, holding the #1 spot on gospel airplay for 2 consecutive weeks, along with the #1 gospel songwriter spot, one of only 6 songwriters to hold the title. He achieved another #1 Billboard hit with his single No Greater Love with Chrisette Michele. In 2023, Rudy's highly anticipated album, Stained Glass Windows, was released with the lead single Ransom. Rudy holds a degree in music from Furman University and is endorsed by Kauai Piano, the world's second largest piano company. Rudy has millions of views on YouTube with his series Kauai Chronicles. Rudy believes that his music will inspire, heal, and encourage millions around the world. Vault Empowers Talks welcome Grammy and Dove Award-winning singer, songwriter, and producer Rudy Currence to the show.
Wow. Thank you. I'm like, who is that?
Listen, you know what? Everybody who sits in this seat says the same thing, but I want you to feel as amazing as you are.
I'm honored. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Somebody like you, to see somebody like, I feel very seen after that intro.
Listen, this is what you and I sitting here today is really when people just meet each other, you know, and it's serendipity. Right. And somehow 2 weeks ago we met and you're here.
Absolutely. God be God. You know what I'm saying?
God be God. Okay.
It's
and
amazing.
we cannot take anything away from that because it's so magnificent. But you are a singer and songwriter. You grew up in Rock Hill, South Carolina. You a country boy. You a pastor's kid.
PK all day.
Yeah.
Everyday PK.
Okay, everyday PK. So tell me about growing up in Rock Hill, because your mom was an influence in your life. Your father's a pastor. He was your piano teacher.
Wow. So, I mean, family is everything to me. It's been something that's kept me grounded. Growing up in Rock Hill, South Carolina, it was pretty slow pace, but my parents, especially my mom, made sure that my brother and I, we stayed involved in as many activities. Matter of fact, I attribute a lot of our success in the record business to my mom. You know, she was our first #1 fan, the first talent scout.
Yeah.
My mom would take us around to it was picnics, family reunions, church functions, just grooming us because she saw talent. My dad's side is the musically inclined side, but my mom, I credit her with just really nurturing that gift. And so it was amazing. My brother and I, we grew up playing and singing in my dad's church. He played the drums, I was on the keys. And so, again, I'm grateful for my background and just how the things I learned in Rock Hill.
I mean, it has really transitioned you from being this PK to moving in the gospel world. It's not new for you, but I can imagine that you've had some hiccups and slip-ups along the way.
Yeah, well, I like to thank, again, of course, my family, but just the humility part of it. I've been on both sides, from secular to sacred, and one thing that I carry with me no matter where I go is just remembering, who I am. and being thankful because, nobody owes you anything. Some of the accolades and stuff you read in my bio, to think that a little guy, country boy PK from Rock Hill, South Carolina would accomplish some of those things. But it's all by the grace of God. And, just remembering that nobody owes you support, So I'm thankful and grateful for every opportunity.
Yeah. You've had some pretty interesting opportunities because probably over a decade ago, you were covering Adele hits.
Yeah.
And you went viral
Yeah.
on the internet, which kind of really took you around the world.
Yeah. I tell a lot of independent artists, I haven't figured everything out. Nobody's perfect, but utilize the resources that you have. You just never know where it'll take you. For example, 2 weeks ago, I'm at a event supporting my frat brother Q and the collective, and I run into Brandi Harvey. Next thing you know, 2 weeks later, I'm on a show doing an interview.
Well, listen,
on the vault.
I was just so intrigued. He was fly then. He had a whole look then.
You was fly too.
Come
on
I
now.
was, don't you know?
Yeah.
You ain't got to tell the people. They already know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you had a look. I was like, okay, you look like an artist when I met you. I was like, no, what he do?
Yeah,
Like,
wow.
So it was, you definitely embody
Yeah.
the creative, you embody the music industry.
Yeah.
But you have really, taken the sacred
Yeah.
and really giving it like a new spin.
Wow.
You've taken the sacred and put a little R&B in there.
Yeah, yeah.
You done put a little vibe in there. You sing with R&B singers like Chrisette Michelle.
Yeah. That's been my goal. And even back to the Adele cover, one of the things that I was going to say, just being an independent artist and utilizing resources, I remember going into a piano store, and me and my videographer, and we, just recorded a cover. That cover caught the eye of Kawai Piano. They're the second largest piano distributor in the world. And next thing you know, I'm endorsed by Kawai Piano. So you always utilize your resources. And again, that fast forwarded and created more opportunities that led eventually to this faith-based album, Stained Glass Windows. And so, God can take a little thing and make a lot out of it. So, one of my favorite scriptures actually is, if you be faithful over a few things, God says, I'll make you ruler over many things.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you just got to be authentic to who you are and stay the course. Don't give up. Just stay faithful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay the course and don't give up.
Yeah.
Be faithful.
Yeah.
So you've worked with Quincy Jones, the likes of Quincy Jones, to Ray J. Child. You was on One Wish. No, I'm just kidding.
I was on that One Wish album.
That's my favorite Ray J song.
Yeah.
Listen, so you work with all these different artists, including the Born Identity.
Mm-hmm.
So I want, to really tell the audience like how you've been able to move and operate in these different spaces with these different people.
The grace of God, and then your gift. Your gift makes room for you. So it's all been just the right timing, being in the right place at the right time. Same way we kind of met, those synchronicities. And just, I don't think anything is happenstance. I think everything happens on purpose.
Yeah.
And so I give credit to a lot of the producers and the production teams that that have given me a shot. Because I'll be honest, transparent moment, back in the day, a lot of people saw me more as a writer than as an artist. And it was like frustrating for me. But fast forward to now, and when you read Grammy Award winning singer, songwriter, producer, what it was doing was grooming every aspect of me.
Yeah.
So now that I'm coming out as, an artist, I've always been an artist, but now that people are seeing me, and seeing that side of me, I have a story to tell, and I'm able to tell it well because of, the songwriting and the studio sessions where back in the day, I was so frustrated because I'm like, I want to sing the song.
Really?
And you giving the song away to such and such. Yeah. So it was, but again, I'm grateful for those moments.
Yeah.
I wish, honestly, I would have gleaned more from them because I'm like, I have more credits to my name at this point. Yeah.
But I love singer-songwriters, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at artists you look at people like Joe, singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
You look at all these artists,
Babyface.
Singer-songwriters, who, really, even when you perform, you can go and take these songs that you've written and you can be like Babyface out here and he running all the Boys to Men hits, okay?
Right.
So you have that power when you're a songwriter. And I think that, when we look at artists, I want people to understand that there is so much power in the pen.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's lucrative too, publishing and writing your own records. I'm grateful that I'm, a one-stop shop. I can go in the studio all by myself. Matter of fact, that's what I did with Stained Glass Windows. And 13 tracks, all self-written, self-produced, and I'm grateful. Not, it's not a flex, but it's, a humble flex.
That's
I
a
thank God
flex.
for
Yeah.
the ability to do it and do it well.
Yeah.
And but also own who you are. If you're not a writer and you need help and you need a co-writer, let somebody come in to make you the best artist you can be. So.
Well, I'm really good at writing, so the next time you go into the
Okay.
studio,
we got a Rudy Brandi collab. Is that what we?
I feel
we
like I'm
working on?
down.
'Cause I hear you got a strong alto.
It's a strong alto. I'm more of a doo-wop girl in the background,
Hey.
but I've been known to hold a solo or two at karaoke.
Okay, listen. Well, hey, you might be my next Chrisette. Who knows? You never know.
I'm not. But I'm not. So we ain't even gonna play with that girl talent. Okay, I don't want to play in her face like that, Rudy. I don't want to play in her
Big
face.
shouts to Chrisette Michelle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that there is so much power. Like even when you talk about your album, how you went in a studio and you wrote this album by yourself, for the most part. But you took your father's voice. He's been so influential over your entire life.
Absolutely.
And you included his voice on the album, on Ransom, which I loved.
Yeah.
I mean, you opened up the album with the legendary Pace Sisters.
Absolutely.
Rudy, who are you? Got the Pace Sisters
Yeah,
opening up the album.
Man, I'm so honored, man, to have the Anointed Pace Sisters be a part of my record.
Yeah.
Like, they are literally gospel royalty.
They are, yeah.
Have, the amazing, talented Chrisette Michelle be a
Yeah,
part of this record.
yeah.
My dad, who was my first piano teacher, still my pastor.
Yeah.
My little niece, Isla, she's singing on One of These Days. So I was able really to blend the best of both worlds. And I'm just grateful. God called me to do this record. I never, aspired to be a gospel artist. I just, grew up singing gospel music. And it's really a labor of love and just me being obedient to it. And look where it's gotten me. We released the first single, I Belong Here, top of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then that ended up being my first #1 Billboard record.
Yeah.
Stayed at #1 for 2 consecutive weeks.
Yeah.
So, it just pays to be obedient and do what you're supposed to do. Do what stay on purpose. You know?
Were you running at any point? Because you're a pastor's kid. You've grown up in the church. You were singing R&B. You was probably wanting to take your shirt off somewhere on the stage.
Right.
Was this like a running, because most people, they run from God. They run from the calling that's on their lives.
Yeah.
Did you have those moments?
I still struggle sometimes with certain things concerning spiritual identity because I think that I've always struggled with people wanting to put me in a box. I think a lot of people that would sign me back in the day, I was too musical or I wasn't urban enough or I was too this or too that. And it was like, I think the rebel in me always fought against the system.
Yeah,
It's like, I'm like, you're not going to box me in.
Yeah,
You're not going to,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and in a way, staying uncomfortable helped me to get to where I am. But concerning the faith-based music, I've always considered myself like inspirational. And my goal as an artist was to inspire and uplift people through my music. So it really was a natural progression. But I still don't necessarily see myself as only this being my forever home. I'm only going to do gospel because to me, God is the ultimate creator.
Yeah.
And so if he gave us, creativity and God is love, why should I limit myself? Matter of fact, you mentioned that I studied music at Furman University. I studied classical music and music that predates gospel by centuries. I'm talking about Italian arias, art songs, opera, German lieder, all of this music. So why should I put myself in a box if I got this wealth of musical ability? I want to really explore all of it. So
you want to explore all of it. What are you looking for in this season to explore, outside of the gospel world?
I think right now, the biggest thing for me outside of a label and a genre is to make an impact. The world is so heavy. I'm really, becoming an advocate for mental health, and I'm starting with myself. One of the things during the pandemic that I realized when the world got still, it gave me an opportunity to really listen, sit still, sit in my own stuff and listen for God's voice, listen for God's instruction.
Yeah.
And so I really one of my goals is just for him to order my steps, for him to lead and guide me. And so I'm really advocating for people to, take care of self, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
You want to be pouring, sometimes we feel like because we're giving, and we're intentional about giving, but it's coming from a place of lack.
Yeah.
And Jesus said, I come that you might have life and you might
Yeah.
have it more abundantly.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to live in abundance. I'm trying to live in overflow. I'm
Yeah.
trying to be glowed up. I'm trying to be like Brandi Harvey one day. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, you said it. Look, my word for the year is overflow.
Yeah.
And each year I set a word for the year. And this year I set it at the end of the year in December, and it was overflow, because it was the word that God kept dropping in my spirit, because it was like, I'm going to give you overflow in every area, right? An overflow of love, overflow of prosperity, of money, of abundance, of relationships, of connection, So every time I walk out of the house, every morning I get up, I am literally walking into the overflow.
Yeah.
And so I just believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
But that's important. You have to believe it before anybody else. I think sometimes we want somebody else to believe it for us.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've learned even during the pandemic. My first single, I Belong Here, initially, and I wrote that song years before the pandemic. So, but when
that was one of my favorite songs on the album.
Wow, thank you. It's definitely self-affirming, but when I put it out, not only did it, mean something to me, but it made an impact because the whole world was kind of like hurting.
Yeah.
And, we were dealing with civil unrest. We were dealing with people that were isolated, sheltering in place, losing loved ones. And they needed to know that they were seen, that they were loved, that they could walk in the overflow, that they belonged here, that God had a purpose for their lives, And so as long as you're here, as long as you got breath in your body, there's a purpose, there's a reason you're here.
Yeah.
So.
You wrote the song before the pandemic, but you stated in one of your interviews before that there are times when you can just go in the studio and it just flows right off the top of the dome. But then there are times that you have to wait to hear that word from the Lord. To know, what am I supposed to be writing?
Yeah. This album is full of those types of messages. No greater love. Stands on John 3:16. That's my dad's favorite scripture. I'm not gonna tell his testimony, but he has a story to tell.
He's a preacher and his favorite one is John 3:16. Of course,
3:16. For God so loved the world. That he gave his only begotten Son, and whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. And so that scripture, he got saved off of that, and then went back and got his entire family saved. And came back and got all the brothers. He's the oldest of 7, siblings. So, having messages that are anchored in the word, but also just timely messages. And some of it, because God, I believe, exists outside of time, I wrote years before the album came out, like I Belong Here, No Greater Love, and then they come out and they make this impact at the right time. So timing is everything.
Yeah, I enjoy compliment.
Yeah. That was one of my, when I was working on the album, I could just ride out to that, and I would ride around the city and just listen to compliment.
Yeah, I feel like you can tell that you are a songwriter, that you do pay attention to how words really string together, and I think that that's so important, because I feel like in this day and age, people are getting away from the songwriter aspect.
Man, a good song is a good song. That's how you can have Dolly Parton, I Will Always Love You, and then Whitney Houston interpret it her way, and it still be even more powerful, in a sense, because it all starts and ends with a good song, and so I think that's something we're kind of getting away from, and hopefully that's something that I'm encouraging. My goal as an artist is really to inspire people. I don't want to follow trends. I always want to set trends, and I want to do good in the world, as an artist. And so that's really what's in my heart. So whether I'm singing the good news, the gospel, or singing R&B, I'm always going to be trying to spread love.
Yeah. You've worked with the legendary Quincy Jones, who has worked with Michael Jackson, Barbra Streisand. I mean, the list goes on and on of legendary people. What was it like being in the studio with him?
I wasn't actually in the studio with him, so I cut my record, or my part of the record, here in Atlanta. He was in LA, but we shot the video in LA. And what I remember most is being on the set, and my label at the time was like, well, sing something for him. And I forget what I sang. I might have sang like Donny Hathaway Song for You, something like that. And he was like, this kid is special. And all I could think of is this is the dude that produced Michael Jackson. That's saying that I'm special. You know what I'm saying? So that was very, affirming for me. And you just never know. And I want to be eventually in a position where I can sow into somebody else, coming up under me and pass the torch and say, you're special. And I'm hoping again that my walk and my career is saying that without me saying it to somebody. Like, you can do it too. I've taken a lot of unconventional paths, but look where I'm at, and I still got a long way to go, but God has been good. He's been, graced me for it. So.
Yeah. What's the unconventional path? Because most people think that there's some straight line to success.
Yeah, it's a lot of things. I think that there can be a lot of right ways. I think we mess up as believers and just people in general thinking there's one or two paths to success,
Yeah.
I think it's important to have balance. I think for me, one of the unconventional means of success is that I've been an independent artist. I've maintained ownership of my masters.
Wow, yeah.
I'm doing it on my own. I'm self-financed, like I'm
Really?
doing this. Yeah. And it can be a heavy lift.
Yeah, I
but
can
it's
imagine.
very gratifying. It's rewarding when you can say, hey, I got 2 #1 Billboard records now. I got a Grammy and a Dove and, just all these things. And, I believe God is going to do more, but to do that with a very small but efficient team, it's only the grace of God, and it's, your work ethic. People think that it's going to be easy. It costs. The anointing costs something.
Ooh,
you know what I'm saying?
baby.
Like, success costs, So if you really want it, you can't just talk about it. You really have to apply pressure and put work, add work to your faith, because faith without works is dead.
Okay, so I want you to go back, excuse me, as an artist, as an independent artist. Because I want people to understand when you talk about your financing yourself, like, what does that mean? That means you are covering your own studio time.
I'm my own label. So studio time. And the thing is, deals can be structured different ways, but when you're signed to the label, basically, they own the masters, they pay all the upfront costs, but then you reimburse them on the back end before you get paid. And so that's what, if you don't read that fine print, you can end up in a position where you think you are owed a lot more money than you're actually entitled to.
Come on, TLC.
Yes. So again, like I'm basically my label. I'm distributed through a major system, but I pay for studio, I pay for album mastering, mixing, mastering. I'm paying for studio, video shoots. I'm paying for photo shoots, paying for radio campaigns. All of these things come out of my pocket, pay for my publicists. All of those things are my responsibility. But at the end of the day, I get the lion's share when things pop.
Yeah, and it's worth it for you.
Yeah.
Because most people don't understand how important it is to own your masters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit.
Just ownership in general, I think it means something to our community, So I'm proud to be an example. I don't get it right. I have bumped my head, been through some things and some disappointments in this industry, as we all have, but I kept going. And so I'm grateful to have ownership of my music. And I feel like I got a lot more songs in me, a lot more albums. So, just the best is yet to come.
Yeah, because I'm going to get in the studio and write.
Yeah, we about to do something.
My piano's
we might end up on a tour. Hey, you never know.
You know what I'm saying? You heard it first, okay? Just know that. But talk about the disappointments, because I think there's so many people, we get discouraged along the way. We have these really high highs.
Yeah.
But then we get those really low lows, and those low lows can take us out.
Yeah.
So I want you to talk about the disappointments that you've experienced, because the music industry can be a very dark place.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It can be a very, a place that it can take some people out and take some people under.
Wow. That's hard to say. I try to stay optimistic. I try not to live in those dark spaces too long. They happen. I think you can go through deals. Sometimes you feel unseen. I think one of the things that everybody can relate to inside the music or entertainment industry and outside is we all have smartphones. We all have cell phones, and we look at our timelines daily. And we, if you're not careful, you start to compare and contrast your life to other people's highlight reels.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I've learned is not to compare my life and my timeline to somebody else's victories, because you may only be seeing what they choose to post in their highlights, and I'm happy for everyone. But at the same time, sometimes it's just a human inclination to be like, well, God, what about me?
Yeah.
When is it going to be my turn?
Yeah.
And so I've learned in those moments, one, to lean and rely on my faith, and remember God's promises and what he
Yeah.
says about me.
Yeah.
But also just to continue to do the work, and also to continue to give yourself grace. That's one thing I want to express to our community. I feel like we don't give one another enough grace. We so quick to cancel everybody,
Yeah.
and it's like, man, like we extend grace to everybody but ourselves,
Yeah.
including like self, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think even in those disappointing, dark moments, it's been important for me to remember who I am, remember whose I am, and then give myself grace.
Yeah. Who's been your favorite person to work with?
Oh man, that's hard because I'm grateful to work with everybody.
We know that, Rudy.
Yeah,
Like, this ain't no shade to
Hey,
nobody.
I'm grateful to be here, with Brandi Harvey right now.
You know
what
I'm
saying?
grateful for every person who sits in this seat, right?
Yeah.
But I know that there's somebody who's left this like indelible mark on you,
Yeah.
and on your journey, who's been so impactful, or somebody who's like they gave you a word when you needed it, was somebody who pulled you up when you was that. Like, who is that person that you've really enjoyed working with?
Wow. One of the career highlights probably for me was writing for Karen Clark Sheard Sunday Morning. And initially I wrote the record for myself. My cousin Donald Lawrence, I give him credit because he heard that he was executive producing her album at the time. And he heard the record. He was like, this would be great on Karen. And he was like, even she said it reminded her of an old Twinkie record, which is her older sister.
Yeah, yeah.
And so for people that don't know, if you don't know, I'm one of the biggest Clark sister fans in the world.
Clark sisters, gospel royalty.
Absolutely.
Absolutely gospel royalty.
For me to get the opportunity to write a record for her, be at the live recording, hearing her sing my words, God gave me.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, it was Grammy nominated. We didn't win that year, but it afforded me an opportunity to take my whole family to LA. We went to the Grammys. My mom walked the carpet with me.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, it was just a moment.
Yeah.
And it was so encouraging for me and my family to have that together.
I'm sure it was full circle as your momager.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a full circle moment.
Absolutely.
Like, the sacrifice got us here.
Man, talking about sacrifices, I could never repay her for all the sacrifices she's made. She definitely was my number one fan. But one thing that I talk about sometimes is the fact that, she was a computer programmer by trade, very, very smart lady, brilliant mind and thinker. But to believe in her son so much that when I was at Furman studying music, she would literally get off work, working full time as a computer programmer. She would get off work. She was commuting back and forth to Charlotte, which was already a 45-minute drive, and from Rock Hill. Then she would drive down to Greenville, which is about an hour, 45 minutes. From Rock Hill to Atlanta probably is about 4.5 hours.
4.5 hours, yeah.
So she would make that commute, pick me up from school, bring me down to Atlanta. The label at the time had me in the studio. They would book sessions from Friday to Sunday afternoon or evening. And then sometimes it would be late night because I was working on trying to get a song right. I've always been a perfectionist.
Yeah.
So, we might get out the studio at 10, 11, p.m. And then she would take me back, drop me off, get home just in time to commute back to work on that Monday.
Yeah.
And it's those types of sacrifices that I could never repay, but always just want to acknowledge her and honor her for who she is.
Yeah, the sacrifice.
Yeah.
You come from a very musically inclined family.
Yes.
Donald Lawrence is your cousin.
Yep.
And so he is also like gospel royalty.
Yes, he is. Yes,
I mean, phenomenal singer, songwriter, producer himself.
Right.
And how has that influenced your career? How has he influenced your career?
It's weird because I grew up listening to Donald, but I never knew we were related until I was like well into my, my adulthood and a recording artist.
Okay, how you found out?
He literally tweeted me. He was like, I think we're cousins. And so he
Black
was getting
people,
right.
Lord, we gotta get our history together.
Right.
We just out here with our cousins on Twitter.
Right. He, I always knew that he was related to some other cousins, but I thought it was on like the mom side or stuff like that. But once we actually connected, it was crazy how we had a lot of musical commonalities.
Yeah.
Like when you think about, for example, random stuff, like I would be like, yo, this record is my favorite Layla Hathaway. He'd be like, that's my favorite Layla Hathaway record.
Yeah.
Or, we both really love the Clark sisters. So a lot of his favorite Clark Sister records would be my favorite Clark Sister
Yeah.
records. Or, the way he thinks about music. So I'm the type of person, I can come up with the album title, the album concept, the song titles. I already know what I want to say before I got the collection of songs together. He's the same way. I never knew that. So he may have the entire album
Yeah.
in his head before he goes in the studio and records.
Wow.
I'm very much the same way.
Yeah.
So it's just those type of musical commonalities that it's cool to find in somebody else in the world and realize that has to be genetics because we didn't grow up I didn't even grow up knowing we were related.
So you didn't find out till you were an adult that this was your cousin?
I had already had record deals.
Wow. Wow.
And what's crazy too, another crazy thing, I had written records for some of his singers, like some of the people that sang in Tri-City and all that kind of stuff. I wrote singles for them and stuff and everything. Never knew that we were related.
Wow.
Yeah.
So both of y'all have this style of arranging because he's definitely an arranger.
Yeah.
Yeah. He knows how to place the right thing in the right place.
Absolutely.
So how have you all worked together on some projects?
We did. He allowed me to arrange Instrument of Praise, and I sang that on his live recording. The Return, I can't remember. I'm sorry, can't remember the name of the album, but I sang Instrument of Praise, and originally he had recorded on the Clark Sisters.
Yeah.
So he allowed me to do my own arrangement, and we did it live in Chicago. It was crazy.
Yeah. Is there somebody you still want to work with?
Oh man. I don't know. I mean, I'm honored to work with a lot of people. I admire.
Rudy, I love how you just be playing it safe over there in that seat, child. Rudy is not gonna offend nobody. He ain't gonna step on nobody's toes. He's like, I love working with everybody.
Listen,
You gotta have somebody.
love.
You gotta have somebody. Rudy, let me start it off. Because somebody who I want to come sit in this seat and they're gonna come sit in this seat is Tom Brady.
Okay. That's
Tom
dope.
Brady.
That's dope.
I love football.
Yeah.
I love dynasties. I love GOATs. I love people who have done what people thought could have never been done.
Yeah.
Right? So that's like somebody who is like on my list of people, which might be out the box for some. They wouldn't even expect me to say Tom Brady, right?
Yeah.
But he's one of those people who's on my list.
Unexpected.
So I started it off, Rudy.
Okay.
Okay, so who's on your list?
Oh man. Well, I've worked with a lot of people I wanted to work with. Thank God I worked with Karen Clark from the Clark Sisters.
Yeah.
They're top of my list.
Yeah.
If I had the ability to work with somebody, it would have been probably like the late Michael Jackson
Yeah.
or Prince.
Yeah.
Whitney, like that.
Yeah.
I'm such an Aquarius, like I'm such a loner and
Yeah.
like that's why, to be honest, I'm not pressed to work with anybody, but I would love to work with, you know what I mean, whoever,
Yeah.
but I'm out here literally like marching to the beat of my own drum. I'm usually in my own head, overthinker, thinking about what I'm gonna do next. So it's never necessarily, oh man, how am I gonna, figure out how I'm gonna get to work with such and such. But generally the people that I've wanted to work with, and even, I didn't get to work with Michael, but I worked with somebody that was very instrumental.
Yeah, you worked
in
with
his
Quincy
career.
Jones. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Again, it's like I've worked with some of the best,
Yeah,
so I'm
you have.
grateful.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah, you've worked some of the best in gospel. People who are also blazing their own trails. People like Lecrae,
Right.
who really, I don't know if he considers
Big
himself.
shots, he's also a noob too.
Oh, look,
Yeah.
y'all Kappas love to be on some
Hey,
yo
I'm
baby,
just-
don't
hey,
y'all?
I'm just-
Y'all love. Look, I told pre-production. I said he pretty too. So when I saw you as a Kappa, I said, oh, he real pretty. Okay,
Well,
good.
the Crimson and Cream, we
we
all in
got the
family.
love.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So no, it's really good. But I feel like you have worked with people who have kind of pushed the boundaries a little bit in gospel.
Yeah.
Because we can't deny the fact that the Clark sisters pushed the boundaries.
Definitely.
When they first came out, when they was
Trailblazers.
disco records.
Right, right, yeah.
They was doing disco records. We bought the Sunshine.
Yeah, you
okay.
brought the Sunshine.
You brought the Sunshine. So then you have people like Lecrae who came onto the scene and exploded as a Christian hip hop artist.
Right.
And pushed these boundaries. I don't even know if he likes to consider himself a Christian rapper.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how are you looking to push the boundaries? Because you said you walk the line between secular and sacred. And so how are you looking to push the boundaries as an artist?
Wow. I'm definitely a hybrid, and I love that. But one of the things I want to do is just show people that you can love God and still be relatable. I think sometimes when we want to serve God, we get into this mindset of, I got to be so pious, and it almost becomes self-righteous.
Yeah.
And becomes you become no earthly good. So I want to push the boundaries and challenge people's ideologies, challenge them about how they see themselves and how they can really connect here in the earth and use their gifts for good for the kingdom, but also to bless people around the world.
Yeah.
I think that's important. And I also push the boundaries musically. From my appearance, I clearly don't look like, I guess, a traditional gospel artist.
You didn't listen. Rudy, I'm telling you, I was not getting gospel vibes when I met you at that. Now, we was cool.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? We met each other, but I wasn't getting gospel vibes.
Yeah.
Then you show up today with the 2 chains and you got your earring and your hair down. I said, okay, Rudy.
Yeah.
Listen, so you are pushing the envelope in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's important to me. But coming from the R&B side, like R&B soul, like image was so important.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
I think I brought that to faith-based music because it was ingrained in me to think about that and be image conscious while doing the artistry side of things, So I definitely want to continue to challenge and push the envelope in that way.
Yeah. You mentioned before that, sometimes you feel overlooked.
Yeah.
In this season of your life, as you've had these moments where you kind of compare yourself to other artists. What's been your biggest struggle with that?
Wow. I can't say that I compare myself to other artists, but what I can say is, sometimes you just feel like, God, when is it going to be my turn?
Yeah.
And I think that has been something that I've had to come to grips and come to terms with. It's not my time, but God's time. You prayed something before we even started, and I say this often is, not my will, but thy will be done. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That was Jesus' prayer and the Lord's prayer. And so I'm realizing that as long as I'm in his will, all of the things that I want, the heart's desires and things, they're going to come in time. And you got to also learn to remember how blessed you already are.
Yeah.
When you were reading my bio, it's almost like surreal because I'm like, I did that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, of course, there's always going to be somebody out here that has more accolades, more awards, or a bigger profile. But I've come a long way from that little boy, singing on Apollo. You know what I mean?
You sang on the Apollo.
I did.
Did my dad?
Yes.
Did my dad bring you out?
Your dad brought
Tell
me.
me about this.
I remember, and he was so kind, man, but funny and cool. He was like, all I see, he looked at me and my brother, he was like, all I see is eyes and eyebrows. But he made us feel comfortable because he probably could tell we were young. He could tell we were nervous.
Did y'all sing gospel?
No, we sang a Boys to Men cover.
What'd y'all sing?
It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
It was just you and your brother?
Me and my brother.
2-part harmony?
Yep.
Okay.
And that's what our name was, matter of fact, because we didn't have a group name because we weren't really we just sang together in church. And,
wow.
So we had to come up with a name to be on the show, so we came up with the name Harmony.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is almost like a full circle moment right here.
Very much a full circle moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that little known Black History fact. You see that?
And we won. Hey, look.
I was going to ask you, did you get booed?
Yeah, no. We ain't get booed. We won.
So y'all won Apollo.
Yes, we did.
What year was this?
Oh, man. This was like late 90s, right before the 2000s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this had to been
Yeah. Yeah, we had on our little white suits, little white fedoras. My mom had us clean.
I know that's right.
He talked about it too. Your dad was like, look at these little suits. Yeah.
I love that. So you did Showtime at the Apollo as a kid.
Yeah.
That is such a funny story.
Yeah, so we've been doing it, man. We, even before that, my mom, we sang the national anthem for the local, the NBA games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So she was grooming us for big stages even back then.
Yeah.
People don't know, we've been at it for years.
Yeah.
And big shouts to my brother, Michael Starr. He produced my first top 20 record testimony.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
so your brother is also a producer?
Yeah, he's a producer. He makes beats. He plays drums, multiple instrumentalists. He plays saxophone. I play trumpet, keys, sing, guitar. So it's all in the family.
Oh, wow. My brother played trumpet. My brother, he plays. He is really good on the keys. My brother, Broderick, is very good. Okay. He can play by ear.
Yeah.
He's very musically inclined.
Wow.
I told you before that I was in piano for years, and I hated it.
Yeah.
Okay? I was not, but I was great in show choir. Okay? I just want you to know that. So when we get in the studio, it's a small flex.
Yeah.
So when we get in the studio, Rudy, don't act funny when I get on
tune up a little bit and hit that. don't do like the church. People be like, y'all pray for me. I'm my voice, and then blaze.
I ain't gonna do all that. I'm gonna just go in there and be me. So yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited. So your creative process, it has levels.
Yeah.
So talk about the creative process and talk about how it played into you writing this new album.
Wow. I'm definitely a writer and I'm a creative. Like I'm always thinking about songs and I have such an overactive imagination that even like songs that I wrote back in the day, like I wrote a song called Weave Ponytail.
Weave Ponytail?
Weave Ponytail. Yeah. And that was the record that ended up getting me signed at the time because it blew up on radio back home in Charlotte. To the point where
can you give us a little taste of Weave Ponytail,
oh
please?
man, it's like, hey girl, yeah, you the one with the weave ponytail. Baby, I won't tell if you won't tell. Can I run my fingers through your hair? They tracks and all.
Lord have mercy. Not the Weave Ponytail, Rudy.
Yeah. So, but that type of creativity, man, I thank God because it makes me a great songwriter.
Yeah.
So I was able to write and I come up with weird concepts and make them like cool. And that led me to the album. The album is 13 tracks, self-written, self-produced, stained glass windows. I really wanted it to feel eclectic but authentic to me and feel like, just a great record. One of the things that I love about this album is, it came out again being unconventional and being marching to the beat of my own drum. Like we live in a time where people are dropping singles and labels are encouraging EP shorter projects because people's attention spans are so short. And I'm like, nah, I want to get back to the nostalgia and the feel goodness of an album. Like you can remember where you were when Miseducation of Lauryn Hill came out. Certain records that, made for great road trips or help you get through certain hard parts of your life or good parts of your life. Music has that type of ability. So I really am proud of this work. I'm proud of this project and what it stands for, what it represents. And so I want the world to hear it.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that because that is we do remember when certain records came out and where we were and what we were doing. One of the most, I definitely remember when Miseducation of Lauryn Hill came out, but y'all know what record I remember when it came out? I was going to Cedar Point the next day with the BYF, with the Baptist Youth Fellowship. Do you want to ride in the backseat of my caddy, chopping it up with do or die? Okay, I remember. Because I remember getting on the church bus, okay, going to Cedar Point, and everybody, I was like, did y'all hear the new song that they dropped on the radio last night? Do you want to ride in the backseat of my caddy? Listen, so I remember that. I remember that.
No, and that's important. Like, music can take you somewhere. It can transport you, but it's also a lot of healing properties. And again, that's why I was like, man, I don't want to just try to condense this to 3 or 4 songs. Like, I got a lot to say, and I think the world needs to hear it. And the world is heavy. They need some light. They need some good, high vibrating music that can just transport them somewhere else or just encourage them to get through whatever they're going through.
Yeah, you did that with this record because I told you I was listening to the record and I have, the songs that I really enjoy. I really enjoy your song, Chrisette Michelle. I mean, it is beautiful. It does not feel like a gospel track.
Wow.
Yeah, it don't feel like it's just a gospel track. Like some songs do feel like this is very much, a gospel song. But this one, I feel like it kind of can play anywhere.
Yeah.
And it feels like you feel the love in it.
Yeah.
Ransom, Compliment. Those are songs that they just feel good.
Yeah.
Then what's the last song on the record is
To Him, It Is Well.
It Is Well. Yeah. Last song on the record. I said, ooh.
Peace like a river attendeth my way. When sorrow like sea billows roll, whatever my lot thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul.
That's the clip. That's the clip. Listen, I loved it. I was like, ooh, old school church.
Yeah,
old school church.
You can't get away from those hymns, those truths that we know. And that's what what I wanted it to be. The album, I wanted it to be the best of both worlds. I wanted to be some things that felt a little more secular,
Yeah.
but still had a message, but then
Yeah.
also some things that were anthems and things that if you grew up in the church were anchors in your faith. You know what I mean? So it's again, just a relatable faith. My goal as just a believer, not just as a gospel singer, but just as a believer is to show people that love is universal. And
Yeah.
a lot of times we get to the point where we, it's us versus them, and that's where we mess up. Jesus was like the coolest dude. Like he went out among people that, didn't look like him.
Yeah.
Sometimes didn't believe like him, didn't think like them, and he encountered and he transformed them because he loved on them and he met them where they were. And that's what this album is about. Stained Glass Windows is just saying, look, it's not about an organization. It's not about religion. It's not about a denomination. You and I are the church, and we got to represent that and go around and love people.
Yeah.
That's all God called you to do is just to love people.
Yeah, it is. To be demonstrators.
Yeah.
To be demonstrators
Absolutely.
of who he is. So I'm excited for what's next for you. So tell us, what is on the horizon for Rudy?
Well, I'm excited. Ransom is our current radio single, and I just found out this week we're top 15. So it's moving up the charts, and I'm grateful for the momentum. We're getting ready to drop a new music video. Hopefully, we can drop it on your channel so people can see, see the visual. Planning a tour, so I'm excited about that. The Stained Glass Windows tour. I'm also working on a deluxe version of the album, so there'll be some remixes and some new bonus tracks and some new visuals. And even a holiday record. So it's just a lot of new music and new content coming down the pipeline.
You've done holiday records, though. You had a holiday record with Raheem Devine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How was that?
Big shouts to Raheem. It was super dope, man.
Yeah.
We put it out. I love the holidays and I love Christmas music. So that's actually a way for me to it was a way for me to again do the best of both worlds while I'm doing a faith-based album. I also kind of got to flex a little bit on the Christmas side, and do kind of like love records and things like that. So I'm excited about the holiday record, and definitely big shouts to Raheem and Chrisette. Everybody that's worked with me, they've been so accommodating and lending their voice to my music and my vision.
Yeah. Your music, your vision. You just came off of a tour recently. Red Roses, what was it?
Red Hearts and was it Red Hearts and Roses?
Yeah.
3 actually. It's the 3rd annual Valentine's. So initially it started as a Valentine's show here in Atlanta, and this year we expanded it to a 4-city tour. So we did Charlotte, which is home, Charlotte, North Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina. We did Atlanta here, Atlanta, Georgia, and then Chicago.
Yeah.
So it was super dope. All of the shows were different but cohesive. And I got to sing about love, so I got to sing some of your favorite R&B classics, some of my old R&B records, and then I also got to sing some of the new music from Stained Glass Windows because again, God is love. So it was super dope. And my niece, so I got to shout out my niece. That's my baby. We talked a little bit about her off air, but Isla, she sang at 3 of the 4 shows. She of course sang my record One of These Days, so she came up on stage with me, and then after that to put the icing on the cake, then she sung the Lord's Prayer in French.
I saw that on your Instagram.
So I'm like, man, this little girl. And the first show I think was in Columbia, and I was nervous for her because I was like, how is she gonna get up here and and how is everything? She was such a pro. Like she didn't bat an eye. She just got up there, and I guess it's because she's watched me her whole life. Do what I do. So she came up, and it was so cute in Atlanta. I was on stage and I was singing, and you know how we could be, people sing, Rudy, sing. And I hear this little voice say, sing, Uncle Rudy. It was so cute. So I love my niece, and I love that we're grooming her to be a little superstar too.
Yeah, look at you. You kind of taking the role of how your mother kind of pushed you out. And got your stage fright and all your little jitters out the way early. Yeah. So you kind of taking that role with your niece.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And she's doing so well. So I'm so excited to see what she's going to do. And again, I'm so proud of her.
So you said love songs. Now, Rudy, you done sang a couple times on the show.
Yeah.
And I don't want to turn this into 106 in Park. But what's your favorite love song to sing?
Oh, man. What's my favorite love song? I don't know if it's a love song, but I guess kind of sort of Song for You. It's one of the songs that I love.
Donny Hathaway.
Yeah. You want me to sing a little bit of it instead?
I mean, I wasn't going to press you, but
I've been so many places in my life and time, sung a lot of songs, made some bad rhymes, acted out my life in stages, 10,000 people watching, but we're alone now with Brandi Harvey, and I'm singing my song, singing it for you.
Yes, I'm gonna get serenaded. Okay.
Let's go.
I love that. So as we close out this interview, I'm so grateful for you to share your talent. And this is a true testament of a singer, because when you talk about singing, you're gonna have to sing something.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I be telling these kids when I go to school, I want to be a singer. Sing. I don't want to. Oh, you don't want to be a singer.
Right.
Okay, so as you are, forging this new era of your career, what is one word that you're committed to in this season of your life?
Wow. I'm trying to think, because I my brain starts thinking of 5 words, so I'm like trying to narrow it down. One word that I am committed to. Healing. Healing. Yeah.
Why?
Because I think that in our community, there's a lot of people that are unhealed, and there's a lot of generational trauma, and I know that my music provides that. And that in that way, I know that it's making an impact.
Yeah.
It's a ministry. It's doing what it's supposed to do. That's what I'm purposed to do.
Yeah.
Part of my purpose in music is to heal.
Yeah.
So healing, yeah.
Healing. What's one way you're healing your own life outside of music?
I think being more intentional about self-care. Like, I can't think of a recent trip that I've taken that was just for me, that wasn't work related or family oriented.
Yeah.
And so I'm being more intentional in 24 about taking moments to rest. I'm an advocate for therapy.
Yeah.
And just really kind of getting to the root of certain triggers, and getting to the root of traumas, that you may carry. Sometimes you don't even realize that it's trauma. So those are ways for sure. But the rest part, because I'm always thinking. And of course, I guess, you being in business for yourself, a lot of times if I don't do it, it doesn't get done. You know? And so I'm learning to kind of shut that part of my brain off, and also trust God. That's a big piece of it. Like, all things, for those that love the Lord, all things work together, you know? And so just remembering that it's all going to work out.
Yeah.
You just got to, it's a process. You may be in the ugly phase right now, but if you just give it time, it's all going to come full circle,
What's one tool therapy has given you for the journey?
Well, therapy is new for me, so I'm just getting started. But journaling, I think, is a great thing.
Everybody who comes to Sis in the Seat, says the same thing, because it helped me. It was one of the things that really transformed my life.
Yeah. Journaling, I think, even times where I feel like I don't really have anything to say, once I start writing, it just starts flowing. And being able to get emotions from here and flow through you, I think is important. So that it doesn't become stagnant or stale, and then it's just you're harboring feelings that you shouldn't harbor. And hold on to.
I think because we've grown up, and especially you and I too, women and men of a certain age who got some seasoning on their chicken, as Kiana Watson said on the show. We grew up having to suppress. Having to shut down, having not talk about it.
Right.
What goes on in this house stays in this house. Like, our business, don't tell nobody our business.
Right.
And so I think we've, that's traveled with us through these different stages of our lives. And to unlearn that.
That's big.
To unlearn that is really, really important, and it's really powerful.
It's freeing, That's my goal, is just to feel free, to feel good, to not feel, sometimes the weight of life. And I think in our community, we're so resilient and we're so creative that we find ways to make trauma look good. We find ways to, just survive. but I want to thrive, you know, and I, you know, like you said, you know, just overflow. Like, what does that really feel like? You know, like that's what I want to experience for the rest of my life, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, you know, to get up every single morning, and I play something every single morning I get up. Like, as soon as I get up, I hit play, right? On my phone. And today is a really good day.
Yeah.
Today is a really good day. It's going to be all these things that come in my way, but today is a really good day. There's going to be business and traffic and commerce and all the things, but this is a really good day.
Yeah.
Everything is working for my good, you know? And
absolutely.
I think to start your day off with that, it just sets you on that path. So when you do get confronted with the contrast of life, you automatically are like, this is for me.
Yeah.
I need this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, you know, and you're able to kind of move throughout the day. And I find myself reminding myself throughout the day, this is a really good day.
Yeah.
This is a really good day.
It's a mindset thing.
Yeah.
I think the body follows the head. And that's what I'm learning in my walk and trusting God and healing and self-care, all those things. One thing your dad said that I remember, I heard him say it on the interview, is that life is about 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it, you know? And I think that's so important because literally you could be dealt, it doesn't matter what, you know, type of life you've been dealt. And it's not to justify, say that you haven't been through things, but it's like, are you going to sit in that? Are you going to heal from it? Are you going to do the work to overcome it? You know, and it's how you approach it. You know, you asked about disappointments in the music business. The music business is just hard in general. Life is hard in general. But what am I going to do? Do I want to be successful? And if I do, I just got to strategize and figure out ways to make it work.
To make it work. Rudy, I have enjoyed our conversation. One thing you want to leave people with before we get out of here?
Wow, is that me talking to the camera? I just want to. It's my moment.
This your moment. You can ask for an offering. You can open up the door to the church. It's all you.
Yeah, well, I definitely want you to download Stained Glass Window. No, I for sure. First, I want to say thank you. I'm honored to be on your platform, for you to share this space.
You're so welcome.
You know, for me to talk about what I got going on. I want to thank all my fans and all of the followers and family and friends who have prayed for me. Definitely want to encourage people to check out my new music, Stained Glass Windows. Of course, Ransom, we got a new music video coming. Sign up for the email list on my website, rudycurrence.com. Follow me on all my socials at rudy.currence.com. I'm sorry, at Rudy Currence. That's at RUDYCURRENCE. And I just want to encourage people that no matter what they're going through, God loves them. God loves you. You're seen, you're worthy, you belong here. God's love is so redemptive. He's the type of God that he'll leave the 99 to go find the one. And so just never give up on life. As long as you have breath in your body, today can be a good day.
Yeah, today can be a good day. It has been my pleasure to talk to you, Rudy. I am so excited for your success and how God is going to continue to open every door for you.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining me here on Vault Empowers Talks. We got another one. Thank you guys for joining us. Be sure to hit that subscribe button before you leave so you don't miss your daily dose of inspiration and motivation. I'm your host, Brandi Harvey. Until next time, eat well, give a damn, move your body every single day. Peace.